Hey, it's time for your weekly Gen Z bashing. So line up so I can spank your fresh bums. Bam!
A better you starts today.
You know what the problem with your generation is? You got a lot of them, actually. You're all just a bunch of twitchy, malfunctioning, viral human beings. But one of them is... Sorry, look, I do actually really like you, by the way. Sorry, I got to stop laying so thick on you. But I do need to just point out a couple of things that you are facing as a generation, because you're an interesting lab rat, yeah? There is not a generation like you. You truly are unique in the grand history of the human race. The closest thing I think that would be similar to you is when television was first introduced. That would be the closest. Maybe radio, something like that. But you're that of now. So start dressing in pinstripe hats instead of going, yeah, mullets, they're sick. No, they weren't. But I do get the irony in it, though. So, look, I'm cool. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. This is one of the big challenges that you guys are facing, which is that generally, as a generation, you are an extremely, how's this, avoidant generation. Extremely avoidant due to the paranoid surveillance state you've put yourselves in voluntarily through your phones. It all just stems back to that. You're going to get tired of me saying it. You're all just sitting there being like, it's a cop-out that it's the phone. But dude, like, think about it this way. Most of my life, I had my eyes. You guys didn't. You always just had basically Google Glass that you have to manually lift up in front of you going like, oh, I'll take a photo of that tree instead of looking at it. Wow, the resolution's even better. And yeah, it is better, but it's not better at the same time, okay? Yeah, so anyway, actually, here's a little trick for you before we even get into this. You do this. Here's a tip. Ready for this? Like if you like this tip. You do this. Da Vinci used to do this. You want to be a Da Vinci genius like him, don't you? Because everybody in Gen Z, I want to work in graphic design. Here. You rub it together until your palms are warm. You put them on your eyes. You leave it there for 30 seconds. I'm not going to do it because I've got other things to talk about, but you open it up. And then after it goes blurry again, everything sharpens. Da Vinci used to do that 5 times a day. Anyway, yeah, so you are an extremely avoidant generation. Just went blank there as to what you were. Had to define you in my own head for a second. The dictionary was not finding the right words. Wish I had an updated brain like you guys. There are downsides to being Gen Y. Here is the problem with being an avoidant. There's obviously a bunch of different problems, but one of the main problems with avoidance is addiction. Yes. Now, because what are avoidants avoiding most of the time? Their emotions. Here, right in the gullet. So, and this one's going to get deep. Prepare yourselves, you little cunts. You avoiding... Sorry. You avoiding all of these emotions leads you to find quick exits. So, classic reason why people nail bite. Now, there's always going to be a different intellectual reason for why people nail bite. Like with every addiction ever. People smoke for different reasons. But one of the main ones that people nail bite for, that you hear over and over again, is they do it. Well, you can see it in just like Scooby-Doo. Yeah, you guys watched the shit 3D movie version, not the base 2D Hannah's Bro, whatever it was. This thing, like, why are they doing that? Because they're avoiding. It's like a coping mechanism for when they are scared. Now, the thing is, as an avoidant, and I know this from being an avoidant myself, when you are an avoidant personality, something that is always just trying to absolve yourself of conflicts, move away from conflicts as much as you possibly can, keep everything fine, what do you do to mask the fact that you are not trying to engage with that emotion? You start to pick up bad habits. You start to pick up addictions because they're the quick things, they're the quick fixes. This is why the phone, first off, immediately. I mean, just the fact, I know I've said this before, but next time that you are in an elevator, first off, moon the camera because that's hilarious. But after you finish doing that, just notice that when you were mooning, the person next to you took out their phone. I'm just going to pretend that his ass isn't out and look at a bunch of asses on OnlyFans. Yes, that's a nice ass. They'll do that instead. When you are in a lift with someone else, instead of just sitting there, and I'm not even talking about engaging with them. I mean, that's just God tier level stuff these days. So just like, Here you go. Which is so weird because you can imagine people in the 50s getting into a lift in the 50s. They would have just said like, ma'am, or like, good evening. They just would have said it. Now, it's kind of weird even if you just go like that. That's too much. I think that you should get into the habit of that, by the way. I'll explain why. But now, people can't even sit with the fact that they're in a enclosed space with a stranger. They can't even feel that, so they avoid that by zoning out and going into the phone. Same with nail biting. Same with vaping. I mean, look, they also are just kind of like chemically addictive. I know from personal experience. Like, you know, I obviously do it on the podcast. I try and limit myself. In fact, I do very successfully limit myself to just puffing on it during the Friendly Journeys podcast because, dude, I've just... For years and years, I've tried to get off the smokes, but I just can't. They're too damn good, which is why it's good that the vapors replace it. But yeah, look, there are instances where, you know, like sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. You don't have to look too deeply into it. But I will say this, that Gen Z, as a general precaution, are always trying to exit and avoid negative emotions. And the thing is, you have the ability to do that all the time. You are the first generation in human history to never actually needing to engage with negative emotions. Why would you think that that would be bad? Go on, you know everything. Check on your fucking phones. I'll tell you why. I'm not going to be that mean. The reason that that is bad is because negative emotions are a teacher. They are a teacher. Every time you avoid a negative emotion, you are not learning anything. You're even not learning the basic thing that needs to be embedded into your nervous system so you at least know it. Like, at the very least, I don't like this situation. Like, sometimes, you know, I'm always saying make a virtue out of being publicly embarrassed. I think that that's a huge key to success. Obviously, in my field, I would say that. But there are times when I've been publicly embarrassed and I thought, yeah, I could have done without that. And what did that lead to? Just the idea that, no, I'm not going to go down that path of public embarrassment. That's not for me. That doesn't help me. That's just getting embarrassed in front of people. There's still a lesson in that. This is the problem with disengaging from your environment. Every emotion that you are having really is kind of just like positive emotion. Yeah, I'm going to move towards it. Yeah, I don't like that. Or, you know, just like, don't like it, but just barrel through it anyway. You've got to do those things, but you're just not having any of those. You are having a very, very shallow experience of life. As in, you've just uploaded yourself and your consciousness into cyborg world when that happens. That's another evil that is happening here. This is why when I talk to people in the Gen Z, like, I can't stress this enough. I know that I'm always giving you a hard time. It's just that I believe in you as a generation. I really do think that you can be a saving grace. I'm being extra nasty to you. And I'm obsessed with you at the moment. But I've noticed that every time that you speak to them, most of the time, obviously there's always going to be exceptions, but there is this thing of, as I'm always saying, very good at skirting things that could be awkward. Genius at skirting things that could be awkward. That's great in certain contexts. But sometimes this is just a raw fact of being a human being. Some moments are embarrassing. Some moments are awkward. Some moments are uncomfortable. Some moments are just generally bad. And there is a reason that you should be enveloping those because, first off, emotions are so closely linked to memory. Memory gives you these little points in your life of like, I want to be moving more towards this. I don't want to be moving more towards that. That's what's happening. You're blocking all of that out. Like, your brain just doesn't know where to go. This is another reason why I think that a lot of you are very, very happy looking at... This is such a rough example because I think it's just so memey and stupid, but you're very happy at looking at someone with a Bugatti instead of getting your own Bugatti, yeah? Like, that is a thing that I think Gen Z has, and that's great for the carbon footprint. That's awesome, but it just means that I don't think that as a generation you really know what you want, and a huge reason for that is that you have never had those deep emotional, not always, there's always going to be exceptions to this, but you can avoid a bunch of those deep emotional moments that lay sinkers into your experience. Kind of just like essentially what happens when you have one of these bad moments in life, or one of these good moments as well, is it's just kind of implanting this beaker in the otherwise dark abyss that is potential reality. Just going like, bing, okay, I'm not going to walk that way. Bing, I want to walk that way. Bing, I want to walk that way. So, what if you replaced? Now, just bear with me here. Rap with me on this one. You rapping? Well, you're never going to be a success if you don't become a successful rapper. That's the only way to success, obviously. But so you think about that in your own time, okay? Where's your bars? But the thing that you need to know is you can replace these moments. And this is what I want you to just be aware of as well. Can you please just be aware of for the next week, the moments where you feel uncomfortable, where you feel awkward, and I want you to actively sit in that. I want you to sit in the awkwardness. I want you to sit in the uncomfortableness. And you realize it's not that bad. Just kind of sitting there and letting it go through. I can give you tools to get you out of it as well, by the way. Like much more empowering, better tools than, oh, I better distract myself really quickly. I'll just get out a toothpick. Something like that. I can give you tools that just alleviate the situation. But let's identify what that situation is again. Let's at least be there. Because usually what happens when you are in a forced situation, like that, getting out your phone. If you're in a forced situation where you're just sitting at the dinner table and then like the person that you know leaves, and then so you're just left with someone else. What usually happens in that situation? Well, there's the getting the phone out. There's the, I'm just going to check the menu. I mean, we've all been there. I do it all the time. But on my greater days, I sit there, I let the awkwardness sit. And eventually you'll realize that the other person inevitably says like, so what do you do for work? Because they're just trying to break it. Now, that's very cruel of me because I could be doing exactly the same thing. But I'm just allowing that moment to sit, to just see what happens when people are uncomfortable. Like, what's going on there? Can they both just ride out the comfort? It's a very interesting experiment. Because, can they ride it out until it becomes comfortable? Because you can do that. You can just sit there. Like, what do fucking Mongolians in a yurt do all day? They just sit there drinking camel milk. They don't talk much. So, but they're very comfortable with each other. There's obviously familiarity with that. But that's the whole thing. There is familiarity in the uncomfortable moments. There is familiarity that is built in those uncomfortable moments where if you let that feeling go out, it creates more bond, which is again something else that Gen Z is very sad about. They don't have any friends. Oh. So, all I'm saying is, when you have one of these uncomfortable moments, when you have one of these awkward moments, I want you to first off look for them. I want you to look for them. I want you to look forward to them because of the great benefits that I've just given you then. That's the first part. It's the second part is that the more that you are okay with all of these things, the more that your bad habits just subside, the more that your good habits go on the rise. Because anytime that you feel any of those feelings, I'm bored, I'm anxious, I'm nervous, any of those feelings, you realize it's not the end of the world. And then because you've given your brain time to calibrate, instead of just being like, I want out now, just press the panic button immediately, which is just like, open up TikTok, that's the panic button now, TikTok, my brain can't handle how many things happening at once, there's TikToks within TikToks. Instead of that, you start thinking about situations that will improve your life. Because you've given yourself the allowance to just sit in these moments. And then your brain naturally starts thinking of more creative ways to get out of it instead of just the bam, I'm out, bam, I'm out, bam, I'm out. It becomes more resourceful. You start actually using your brain again. This is one of the key things that is causing this sort of mental dullness that you see in phone addicts. A really key component of this is the fact that they don't have to interact with reality at all, which is like the best teacher there is. You're denying yourself the best teacher you'll ever have because it's your reality. It is your reality, and you are denying yourself the thing that is actually going to guide you through it, which is experiences. the emotions that are linked to those experiences and whether you want more of that or less of that. So for the love of God, for your own benefit, please, instead of taking out your phone at the lift, sit there in the awkward silence. Instead of when you're just sitting there and you're with someone that you don't know that well, look, you can strike up a conversation, that's even better, obviously, but at the very, very least, don't take out your phone or read the menu or start pretending that you're looking at something. Just sit there in the uncomfortableness. Uncomfortability. Your relation to uncomfortableness and success, like that, they are so closely linked. So make sure that you do that. All right, anyway. In case you didn't know, I've got a live show. I'm doing it in Brisbane. I'm doing it in Adelaide. This is sick. I'm getting amazing feedback about this from myself because my reality is my own teacher. But also other people come up to me and they're just like, I really needed to hear that. So if you want to be one of those people that comes to me and weeps to me while I sit there being like, yes, you are a worm, aren't you? If you want to be one of those people, and I sincerely hope that you do want to be one of those people because, more the merrier, I've got those tickets available. Also, if you want 3 of these videos extra a week, you can go behind the Jordan Shanks paywall. And behind the Jordan Shanks paywall is some absolute pearls of wisdom. That's the highest bits of research that we have that week. Those are the bits that we just think, nah, you need that. You need to change your life, and you need to do it for a low, low, low price as well. That's all the benefit ever. In such a tiny, tiny little gesture, like the small little, one of those $2 coins with the Aboriginal guy just looking out, just being like, nice. That's all I want from you. That coin, that little token, in exchange for, I don't know how many hours of my life I've devoted to this at this point, but I'm talking about thousands of hours of integrated experience from other people's books that I can just give you that day. Bam, write down your notes, start your journal, expand your journal, do it in a quicker amount of time than I did, and spend way less of your time, which is the most valuable asset you have. Really, I'm giving you such a discount, aren't I? Such a discount on both of them. I'm just a good person. Make sure that you subscribe because you're subscribing to a good person. This is a fact. My reality is the teacher.